Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Kraft, and I'm reading my chapter from the book called The Ways to God. My chapter is titled Experiencing God. My shattered world. I remember the exact moment I decided to stop believing in God. I was 10 years old and walking home from elementary school alone. I was in deep contemplation, asking myself why over and over again. I had recently experienced a tragedy so great that I said to myself, if that can happen, then there is no God. That was the only viable solution around which I could wrap my 10-year-old mind. As a child, I had the sense that God was synonymous with goodness and only allowed goodness to prevail. So when this tragedy occurred, it shattered everything I had once known to be true. God could not be real if something so bad could happen. I grew up without religion. Both of my parents were from Brooklyn, New York, and had attended Catholic schools. They weren't too impressed with the mean and harsh treatment they had received from the nuns. They had all three of us kids baptized Catholic as babies, but very early on they gave up on taking us to church. If I had to guess, my brother was around 2 years old, I was 4, and my sister was 6 when we stopped going. I remember nothing about it other than having to be quiet in the pews while giggling with my little brother. Religion was not a part of our lives. I don't recall hearing either of my parents say the word God. Somehow I was aware of God, but it was not spoken of in my home. Spirituality was not a concept in our house growing up either. In my mind, religion was mythology, and religious figures such as Jesus were fictional characters. Although I had had no actual exposure to religious stories or texts, I had made that assumption early on without any context. As time went on, it became hard to understand how anyone could believe in such things. None of it seemed real to me. I understood from early on that religions were man-made. I would have no religious dogma to break free from later on, since I had never learned about religion in the first place. I would be starting from a clean slate, without any religious programming or indoctrination. I appreciated this starting point when my awakening happened many years later, because it was pure, authentic, and real, without anything to reconcile. I had believed in God before this tragic event, and when I stopped, it was a conscious decision. In retrospect, it felt like a mild form of rebellion. I couldn't bring myself to believe in something that would allow such horror. God allowing such an event to take place felt like betrayal. It was 1982 in Washington, D.C., my hometown. I was in the 5th grade in elementary school. One of my friends, a classmate of mine, was sleeping in her bed before school one day when her mother came into her room and shot and killed her. Her mother then went into her own bedroom and attempted to commit suicide. She missed and shot herself in the arm instead. She lived. Just 3 weeks earlier, I had been at their house for a sleepover birthday party for my friend. Let's call her Melanie. When she gave us girls a tour of her very pink bedroom, she also pointed out her mom's bedroom and her dad's bedroom. Curious, I asked Melanie why her parents had separate bedrooms, as this concept was totally foreign to me. She didn't answer. Assuming she may not have heard me, I asked her 2 more times. She still did not answer me. I came to find out after her murder that her parents were in the middle of a divorce and custody battle. In my 10-year-old mind, I suspected that her mother had feared losing her daughter in the custody battle. Perhaps she had wanted to commit suicide, but did not want her daughter to experience the pain of losing her, so she wanted to take her daughter with her. This was how I tried to make sense of it. At the birthday party, I got an inside glimpse of the family dynamics. I was a very perceptive and analytical child. Her mother was distant, mostly silent, and despondent as she went through the motions for the party. She seemed almost robotic. Her father was jolly, engaged, playful, and delightful as he interacted with his daughter. His arrival home from work was a celebration. When he walked through the door, Melanie ran to him and stood on top of his feet. He walked her around, picked her up, and swung her around. Her love for him was palpable and exuberant. His love for her was all-encompassing and full of joy. Their bond was apparent. In contrast, there seemed to be a noticeable absence of connection between Melanie and her mom. This tells me her mother could have feared losing her in the divorce. Following the murder, I also found out that there had been a history of mental illness with Melanie's mother. The extent of my perceptions and observations highlights how deeply pensive I already was as a child. When I found out about Melanie's murder, I retreated even further into my mind to try to figure out why someone would do such a thing. I couldn't find an answer, but I fixated on the question, why? For me, it wasn't as much about the pain of my friend dying, although the grief was there. It was more about the shock that a mother killed her own daughter. The violent and tragic nature of Melanie's murder overshadowed much of my ability to feel and process the grief of losing her. It also felt surreal to me because Melanie was an exceptional child, far more exceptional than the average child, and this was evident. She was extremely gifted in many areas. This made her death even more poignant and impactful. How could such a special child as this die? Her death opened up in me a profound and deep seeking from within. The mother figure is supposed to be the nurturer and the source of unconditional love, much like God. That this could happen meant that I was truly not safe in the world, and I was not safe believing in the concept of God, since God allowed this. I lost trust and a sense of safety. I lost the innocence and joy of a carefree childhood. I lost the foundation of life and of goodness. I didn't have the support and love from my parents that I needed. Instead, I turned inward I had only myself to rely on in terms of my psychological, mental, and emotional needs and well-being. I retreated into my mind and the overwhelming, self-burdening questioning and pondering. There was no peace in my mind, only confusion and overthinking. Compounding all of this was the fact that I did not have a loving mother myself. She was abusive. I didn't realize it at the time, as it was all I knew, and it felt normal to me, but I was experiencing it nonetheless. I had a mean and angry mother who put me down a lot. Her treatment was soul-crushing at times. She was not a safe place for me. Melanie's murder triggered me to dive deep into seeking answers. My entire world had been shattered. I could no longer assume that what I had believed to be true about anything was actually true. At the time, I told myself that if this could happen, then anything could happen. If a mother can kill her own child, anything else is possible. Suddenly, nothing was off limits. I even asked my own mother if she would kill me. Prior to this event, I didn't know mothers could kill their own children. So now that I knew this was a possibility, I wanted to know if the same could also happen to me. My mother said that she would not. I took her word for it. I spent the next several months experiencing terrifying post-traumatic stress that I told no one about. I was trapped inside my own prison of intrusive, fearful, and terrifying thoughts, mostly about Melanie's mother killing me. I was petrified. Besides the intrusive and repetitive visions of Melanie's mother killing me, the post-traumatic stress was also presenting itself at night when I closed my eyes to go to sleep. I would see 3 beings trying to connect with me when I closed my eyes. This caused me to feel terror, and I would will them away in total fright. This happened every single night for a while, until they eventually stopped showing up. I had pushed them away and was left alone with my own fear. As an adult looking back, I wonder if they were actually soul family trying to comfort me in my time of need. Perhaps I had unknowingly disconnected from all forms of spiritual support, not only from God, but from other loving beings who wanted to be there for me. I believed in nothing at the time, so ultimately, that was truly the case. I had cut off my spiritual connection as a result of this trauma. On top of that, in the 4 months that followed, I would lose my dog, grandfather, and piano teacher. Each death made me more numb. I didn't cry. I couldn't cry. I actually didn't cry when Melanie was murdered because how it happened was so incredibly shocking to me that it paralyzed my feelings. I was stuck in shock, disbelief, and confusion. It was too much for me to process. I could not emote. I only thought. I retreated into my mind. I spent my days asking myself, why did she kill her? How could a mother do that? I wanted to understand so badly, but to no avail. So thinking was my coping mechanism. Trying to understand became my obsession. At my grandfather's funeral and wake in June 1982, I did not cry. My cousin was sobbing and sobbing, and I knew that her crying was a healthy emotional response to our grandfather's death. I was envious of her ability to openly cry and be in touch with her feelings. I knew that crying was a healthy release, something that helped with the grieving process. I knew I was emotionally blocked and that I had lost touch with my feelings due to the unresolved shock and trauma of Melanie's violent murder. I was stoic, and I knew it wasn't healthy. These were my thoughts at 10 years old. Professional help might have been of great assistance to me at the time, but my parents never offered any. Both of my parents were therapists, yet they never took action to get the help I desperately needed. As a 10-year-old, I did not know how to express my needs. My mother dismissed needs or emotions that were not pleasant, and my father was emotionally distant and unapproachable. Unfortunately, I suffered in silence, left to deal with all of this on my own. Overthinking and overanalyzing can be a response to trauma. If we don't process our emotions and traumas fully, we can get stuck in the mental body, or we can disassociate. The key is to move that excess mental energy into the body and allow it to process through the heart chakra. It's just energy that wants to be moved and processed through us. If we are able to do that, it won't stay trapped within us, and we won't get stuck. We have to feel it to heal it. This concludes the first portion of the reading of my chapter, and I will continue in part 2.